All right, let's continue with the pace. In order to curb money laundering activities, the Nigerian government said it would freeze all accounts not covered by bank verification numbers, BVN.
Now, since government arrived at this decision, many Nigerians have been reacting to plans to take over accounts without BVN. Business correspondent Lara Folayon reports.
The Nigerian government's decision to file in court for temporary forfeiture of depositors' funds not linked to bank verification numbers was unexpected. Many feel this is absolutely in order, while others find it faulty.
Not having BVN means that you have a reason for not having it, and so instead of forfeiting the money, I am of the opinion that we should actually invite the people, but of course block the accounts and invite them.
If you look at the corruption index, if you look at other indexes that should help Nigeria rank well for investors, these are issues that always come all over the time. It raises a red flag of why Nigeria might not be the best of investment havens, because we have unverifiable information that's affecting the way we do things in the nation.
The request to this effect, as granted by the court, also allows for seizure of funds in bank accounts without enough know your customer details. This customer service expert has some reservations.
According to Money Laundering Act 2014, there is no law for forfeiture. It is not captured. So if they are doing it, I think it's not within the law for them to say public should forfeit their money.
The court has ordered 19 deposit money banks to make public details of accounts not linked with the BVN. The banks are also to make available any such investments done with such funds while preventing cash movement from the accounts. Some critics say government is interested in this money to shore up its revenue base.
The government is absolutely doing the right thing. Why? Because the KYC is not optional. In any economy of the world, the KYC is something that everyone has to do. If you have an asset, you probably have to come forward, go to the bank and say, yes, I own this asset, and here are information, here are receipts, here are lots of things that makes you know that I own this asset. So if you're not coming forward, and it means there is something fraudulent about the account you're operating, and you have to forfeit to the government. And the government hasn't even said that they're doing complete takeover. The government is saying that we are giving you 14 days, and we will publish this information in a widely read newspaper. And if after 14 days, you do not come forward to give us a reason why we shouldn't take over this asset or these funds lying dormant in this account, then we have to take it.
The banks are to publish details of the 14 accounts after a 14-day period, during which such account holders could make a case for why their monies should not be forfeited. The BVN registration exercise started in February 2014 and ended in October 2015. The deadline was extended for those in the diaspora. Lara Folayon, TVC News, Abuja.
Okay, welcome back. We have in the studio Gbenga Onitilo, a policy analyst, to discuss this with us. Good morning and thanks for joining us.
Good morning, ladies.
Well, many people, it depends on where you're looking at it from. Some have applauded this move by government, while some, on the other hand, say, look, the economy is already comatose. Now, this move will really ensure the burial of the economy.
Well, I think I will start first from looking at it that it's a bit appalling for you to cast a blank jacket statement saying you want all the accounts that are not linked to BVN are proceeds of either corruption or fraud. It's really an appalling statement, and you cannot say, because people don't have BVN linked to their accounts, and just say all those funds, they are proceeds of crime or proceeds of corruption, proceeds of, it could be anything you want to define it as. You cannot approach things like that. The issue of the BVN, is even a constitutional issue or a policy issue by the financial regulator, that's the CBN. So the customers of a bank has a contractual obligation with who? With the bank.
Yes.
So you can see what the banks are now saying. The banks are now saying the banks are about to fight back.
Yeah.
In fact, they're lobbying the AGM.
Yeah, they're taking this issue to court.
Yeah.
Because now they're talking about some people's accounts. There are issues of administration where some people are fighting family battle issues, letters of administration not yet coming up. Some people, even for example, a place like America. How many BVN centers were open in a place like America? As big as America is, Australia. So you can start looking at all those. So quite a lot of people cannot even come home because some of them are still having issues with having their immigration status sorted out for them to come back home. So,
of course, that's as it affects people in diaspora.
It affects people in diaspora more. And so there are quite a lot of issues here. Because, are you saying because the government have a shortfall and deficit in terms of revenue to show up the budgets? So the next thing to do is to go after money in the banks? And you are not even looking at the threat to the banking industry.
Exactly.
When you say you want to lean on funds, how much are you going to lean on? And put the liquidity ratio that you already have in the banking system. How much mess are you going to cause? And don't forget, if this goes on, the banks are going to battle with a lot of civil action taken against them.
Exactly.
Because when you're talking about BVN, you're always also looking at the issue of confidentiality. So when a government can just have access to information, if the things you start asking yourself, have you, most of these accounts you are talking about, the regulators, maybe ICPC or EFCC, what works have they gone out to say, okay, some of these funds we have traced, we have done investigation and found out they are illicit funds.
Okay, yeah, let me come in here. And it's quite interesting to even note at this time that the Central Bank of Nigeria is not even part of the plaintiff. Yeah. It's the Attorney General of the Federation and the government. That the Central Bank of Nigeria is the
regulator.
Because it's the regulator, and it's not even in support of this move by the federal government.
So it should even be coming from the regulator.
Exactly.
The regulator is the one that has jurisdiction over this matter. And the best you can even do with some of these accounts you're talking about is post no debit, which CBN is supposed to, is the only one that has the power to even issue instruction because you have a regulator within that space. So I'm wondering why the Accountant General of this Federation is going far above the regulator of the industry. CBN has access to all the accounts in all the banks. We have CBN inspectors. The banks give reports daily, weekly, monthly, on the status of accounts and all that. So if accounts have been flagged by the regulators, if there have been issues with the regulator, the EFCC itself still has to go through the financial regulator before you get access to the bank. So have you been able to prove the accounts that don't have BVN? Has the government been able to prove beyond reasonable doubt that these funds are questionable accounts? They are questionable funds for you now to say you want to have for future.
So in addition to this, government is saying to the deposit money banks, the banks in the layman's language, that they should publish the names of people who own these questionable accounts that are BVN less.
Yeah, you see, that's why I have the issue. I said the issue of confidentiality.
Yes.
I have the issue of confidentiality agreement I signed with my bank. If at the end of the day, you publish my name as one of those, if they go ahead to do that, and you publish my name, and at the end of the day, you cannot prove beyond reasonable doubt that those are proceeds of crime or proceeds of corruption, then it's going to be, the bank is going to have a great day in the courts.
Exactly. And this even somehow turns on its head entirely. The sacrosanct principle in Nigerian constitution of presuming someone to be innocent until proven guilty.
No. So that's the issue. The issue. So at the end of the day, you are even sending a message to the whole world. At the time we have issues with earnings, the foreign direct investment are so low, and now you are going far above breaking laws, systems, just because you are fighting a war of corruption and you're not finding it in a systemic way, in a process-driven way. You are sending a message to the whole world that the government can just come and get into anybody's bank account, whether they've done any investigation or not, or just because of flimsy things like you don't have BVN, which is not even a legislative issue. It's not a constitutional matter. It's something that has to do with the regulator. It's a policy-driven thing. And the government is coming above board and saying, look, we're going to freeze this account. What facts do you have to say all these accounts that don't have BVN,
and
they
in
are
the midst of all
Have
of
you been able to
this,
justify
in the
that?
midst of all of this, the CBN and of course the banks are looking to pull more people into the banking system. You have so many unbanked Nigerians. So what kind of signal will this even send to those people in the first place?
At the end of the day, that's what's going to happen, because you have close to, the deposit in the bank is close to about 23 trillion, if not more. And when you start coming up with actions like this, where people still say there are a lot of funds that are even outside the financial system. With things like this, these are the things you begin to see happen. People start losing. There are still so many unbanked people in Nigeria. And when you start coming up with all this kind of action, the government begins to act more like a military tendency in the kind of actions they take. So you
could even jeopardize the cashless policy the government is preaching, because, like you said, once people start panicking, we have reports of panic withdrawal of already, customers going to the banks to withdraw because they are afraid of the unknown. So, moving further now, many are saying that this policy, directed by the court, is targeted at the coexistence of some of the banks, because it could take them back to the days of the TSA implementation, or even worse still, if these monies are pulled out, that they could start looking for liquidity to even run their daily operational activities, and that, of course, could make some of them fold up. Is that
that's a threat at the end of the day, because when you start coming up with such actions, and you already have a kind of crisis that was created during the TSA period, that banks had to move funds out. We never know what we're even doing with those funds. They're just locked up somewhere. We don't even know what is being done with that. Now you are coming with this action again. It's really going to affect liquidity ratio at the end of the day if the government goes to have its way. And I think it's going to be a great battle, because the banks are now rising up against it, because there's a risk on the side of the bank for their customers to hold them liable, because I wouldn't want, if I decide not to do a BVN link to any of my accounts, and you are publishing my name in the newspaper, and at the end of the day I come back to validate those issues and the account is kept open, I can go out and sue you for exposing. So the issue of data, people's data, people's information,
security-wise, is very sensitive.
It's vital. There is a template, like they say, you're not reinventing the wheel. There's nothing we're doing with the BVN that's not been done elsewhere. Even currency renewal, your withdrawal of currency and all of that, like it happened in Europe. The window that was allowed was almost endless. If money was going to be changed, for example, if you wanted to change your currency, if you came into the bank with the old currency, all they needed to do was to give you the new currency. Would you say that the time frame that was given for the BVN itself to even be done since 2014, 2016, 2 years, for 180 million Nigerians in quote to get their BVN?
The issue is, why do we keep putting time limits on things? For example, you say people should go do PVC, you put a time limit on it. People should go and register for something, you put a
national ID card.
National ID card. Why do we always
Shouldn't
have to
it be
do
a
that?
continuous process?
It should be a continuous, ongoing concern that you leave it open at people's convenience. The best the regulator can do is to post a no debit limit on those accounts. When you can make withdrawals out of that account, the onus now lies on you to go sort out what you need to sort out. But for you to say you want to have for future over an account when you have not been able to prove that there are proceeds of crime, proceeds of corruption, and it's more than meets the eye.
And will this have a multiplier effect on the economy at the long run?
No. It's going to affect the perception of the foreign direct investors, how they perceive the economy, how they perceive the government in terms of being able to obey the rule of law. Because one of the first things investors look at, aside from you have opportunities for investment, they want to look how strong the institutions of law are. The ability for you to obey the law, follow systems, follow process. Those are some of the things they want to look at. Because if I'm investing into your economy, how safe it is for me, how well protected am I when I want to put my funds out, or when I have issues of litigation, how well protected am I? Is that a level playing ground in terms of me being able to get judgments as I went due? So some of those things,
that's an issue, really.
Some of those things send wrong signals, because we say we're practicing democracy, but at the end of the day, we are not a system-driven.
Because the affected parties were not even notified before the expansion motion.
Even if they are notified, even if you are notified at the end of the day, But the kind of process you have put in place for them to have these things done, how seamless it is. For example, people in America.
Some will even say that, look, government seems to be minoring on major things and majoring on minors.
Yeah.
That the real issue here for government is cleanse the banking system and everything else will fall in place around it. Because, I mean, it seems that the purpose of this BVN was defeated already from get-go by the banking system themselves.
No, I won't say the purpose is defeated.
Okay.
The CBN is on top of the game with regards to this. It's the government that has not done its part. If you have accounts that you feel are spurious accounts, they are suspicious, right now if you have 100 accounts, you have your name tied to those accounts.
Yes.
And if governments have people they are actually after, then you need to work with the regulators.
I raise that point because some say, look, it's the bank, the banking system itself that allows for the so-called fraudulent
smart banks,
people to actually run these accounts without the BVN. So if you don't
CBN
solve
has
it,
access to all the records of all these things.
so they should be able to solve it.
They have access to all these things. So if you are trying to prove that there are proceeds of crime, then you need to work in collaboration with the CBN. The accounts that have been flagged, that you need to know the sources of revenue or income of these particular accounts. Those are the things you should go after. You should, that's why you have your EFCC. That's why you have
ICPC and the rest of
state fraud units, SFU. You have the ICPC. You have a lot of institutions.
Well,
so we have institutions that can stand on top of this and see to the bottom of the matter and find out whether this account is spurious, whether this account is
CBN and NDIC
but not for us to go this way and say every account that is not tied to BVN is a spurious account, we must forfeit them.
Well, experts are already afraid, especially economists, that the government at the end of the day could commit an error of targeting type 1 of it, that at the end of the day, you won't even be able to capture those you're targeting, and then
because at the end of the day, the people they are after,
the
most of their funds are not even in the bank.
They're not even in the country.
All right, thank you very much for your analysis at this time. Benga Onitilo, nice having you as always. You're a policy analyst. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.